It's the Daily Kebab. Welcome, folks, to the Daily Kebab, the third edition, and what an interesting day of football yet again. I've actually moved on to Madrid, and I'm in my hotel bar at the moment having a nice glass of white wine. It's actually half time in the France-Australia game. So given the time taken out of the day from travelling from Oviedo to Madrid, I'm going to give you the three reviews first and then move on to a pretty interesting little tapa street and give you my take on the France-Australia game and my predictions for tomorrow. But before I do that, one interesting thing is the set of new directives from FIFA. First of all, giving penalties for holding and grappling and shirt pulling without any attempt to play the ball. I must admit, I'm not sure about the coaches, whether they know all about this directive, given the enormous amount of holding going on at corners. I mean, surely as a defender, just as you have to be very careful with your hands for handball, surely you'd know about this directive and you wouldn't be pulling people's shirts, but they are still doing it. Which leads us on to the first game, and what a shock that was. Argentina won, Saudi Arabia 2. Now, my prediction yesterday was 3-0 to Argentina, and within 10 minutes, Argentina going one up, and some very close offside decisions, which could have made it 2 or 3-0, I think I was looking good for my prediction. But what on earth happened in the second half? Now, I thought Argentina were a bit complacent there. I thought they expected an easy victory, and the Argentine forwards just couldn't time their runs at all well against this very high line, well, we'll call it the Saudi offside trap. But I think they should have broken through on a couple of occasions, but they were offside more than you'd find against George Graham's Arsenal. And then, after some sloppy Argentine turnovers, Al-Shahri and Al-Dasari finished superbly. They were really good finishers to make it 2-1 to Saudi Arabia. I couldn't believe what I was seeing, and the commentator even paused for a second before the second goal went in because he was stunned as well. And at the end of the day, Argentina really couldn't have any complaints about that result. And well done, Saudi Arabia, they deserved their victory. I don't know how they party, but enjoy it whatever it is. Okay, the next two games were not as good. Now, Tunisia and Denmark, I didn't see all of that. I predicted a 1-1, which it could have easily been. And from what I saw and read, 0-0 looked about a fair result. The evergreen Kasper Schmeichel providing us with an exemplary save. The next game was appalling. Mexico and Poland. I had this down as a 2-2 draw. Okay, I got the draw bit right, but given some of their results in previous games when they shipped goals to decent teams, I thought that this would be a high-scoring draw, not a goalless draw. And both defences are a little leaky, but it has to be said it didn't matter against two attacks with the cutting edge of a herring. Mexico just lumping balls in aimlessly at strikers who were nowhere near where the ball went. Poland not doing much at all, but then when they got their chance from a penalty, yes, another shirt pull, which the defender should not at all have been doing had he been aware of the new regulations and directives, he surely would not have done it. Now, I wasn't aware before the commentators mentioned it that Lewandowski has never scored at a World Cup, and you could see the nerves all over him. For somebody who's so experienced in European football, it was a surprise, and I'm afraid he bottled it with a penalty that Riyad Mahrez would have been proud of. So who knows what's going to happen in that group. I would have thought Argentina would beat both of these teams, but as I said yesterday, they're doing it again. They really can make a hash of these group games, and today, well, we've seen it all before. So much for that 35-36 game unbeaten run. And now the France against Australia game. I thought this would be a comfortable 2-0 win. I know that Benzema's injured, so the evergreen Olivier Giroud takes his place. Yes, he's still playing at the top level in Italy. And Australia have started brightly with a great move to take the lead. Unfortunately, France have come back, and I have to say the Australian defence are all over the place, particularly for the equaliser. Why was Rabiot not picked up by anyone? Well, answers on a postcard. Anyway, I'm going to go back and watch the second half in front of the big screen here, and I will bring you the wrap from that match, along with my predictions over some high-class tapas. Okay, Muttonistas, I am in the barrio of Ibiza and I am at a corking little wine bar which serves a lot of food and has a restaurant at the back called El Capricho. And I just asked the waitress for the heaviest wine they have. No surprises, it's from the Toro region, and as you can probably guess, that means it's meat tonight. But as is often the case, you order a drink in these places and you get a little snack. And normally I would hop around from place to place having a glass and a small dish. It is great fun if you're ever in this part of the world, but for the purposes of the vlog, I'm just going to stay here and have a couple of things. So, back to the football. The French, they overpowered the Australians in the end, as you'd expect once they got in front. And I think they have some very dangerous customers on their team, none more so dangerous than Kylian Mbappe. Fair chance England will end up in the same part of the draw as France, and I wouldn't fancy that. 4 matches tomorrow. First one up, Morocco-Croatia. Now, again, these North African sides can be pretty tricky, and despite their recent good history, Croatia haven't been pulling up any trees, so I'm going to go for a 1-1 draw here. And if you look at how Tunisia played today, they both come from the same qualifying pool, so I don't think it's far-fetched to suggest that they might get a point here. Next up, Germany against Japan. Japan are no mugs either, I have to say, and again, Germany have not at all been on form. But I still think they'll have too much for Japan, so I'm going to go for 2-1 to Germany. Third up, the country where I actually am at the moment, Spain against Costa Rica. And I think Spain are looking pretty good for a good run in this competition. Maybe not to win it, though that's an outside possibility. I'm not quite sure how Costa Rica are playing at the moment, but if you remember, they caused a lot of shocks in the group with Italy, England and Uruguay a few years back. The only problem Spain have is up front, and Alvaro Morata and others have been guilty of missing gilt-edged chances in recent years, but I still think Spain will do the business here and win 2-0. And finally, the game I might not be able to watch all of because I have a dinner appointment here in Madrid tomorrow. Very important, Muttonistas, that is. Belgium against Canada. And I reckon Kevin De Bruyne and the boys are going to run riot here and win 4-0. And, importantly, my first dish has arrived. We have sardine fillets with tomato ice cream. And we have some bread, croutons, with some tomato paste. I've loaded up a piece of bread, tomato paste and the sardine fillet. I had a little taste of the tomato ice cream, more like a tomato sorbet. I think that's more of a palate cleanser between pieces. But I do love the addition of savoury ice creams to food, particularly to cold food. It really does liven things up. Wow, wow, wow. Beautifully smoky, fleshy, firm, seafoody, smothered in olive oil as you'd expect. And I probably shouldn't be drinking Toro red wine with it, but who cares? And I will add that sardines, and particularly smoked ones, can have such a strong fishy flavour. If you're not into your seafood, I'd go for something else. But if you really are, this is right on the money, Muttonistas. Well, that was delectable. I mean, sardines, particularly smoked ones, and good olive oil go together like peaches and cream. Now, whilst we're waiting for the other dish to come, what do we all think about England's chances so far? I know I get a lot of international viewers, but I am English, so it's an English-centric vlog. And compared to what I've seen so far, we actually look quite good. But it might be something that's being masked by Iran having been so bad. We seem to have good players now in every position, except for Maguire, I think, who's a liability. Usual generous Spanish measure, of course. But I was saying that Maguire is a bit of a liability. He was at fault for the Iranian first goal, I thought. But do we have better is the question. Only time will tell, but I fear Southgate, once the going gets tasty, will go back into his negative shell, and we will repeat the failures of recent years, where we get quite a long way into the competition go a goal up, go backwards and either lose or lose on penalties. Right, Muttonistas, the meat has arrived. I wouldn't call this a kebab, obviously, but a kebab does refer to a piece of meat, except for this is a prime cut of lomo. Now, I always get a little bit confused about your solomillos, your lomos, your entrecotes, your contrafilet, and your ribeyes. I understand the ribeye. I think this is a fillet, part of the fillet. Anyway, look at that. Properly cooked, served with potatoes, pimientos de padron, famous Spanish green peppers, and rather interesting, an artichoke puree. That is superb, quite superb. So glad I came here. Anyway, I'm going to love you and leave you here, folks. Don't forget, tomorrow I'll be back with reviews of my predictions and the matches themselves, and my predictions for the day after. But until then, folks, that was your Daily Kebab.